Hi crew, Ange from Wise Moves Yoga, and I'm teaming up with Epic by Elle to bring you some stretch and recovery sessions. During our sessions you'll need a yoga mat or something similar. You may need a blanket or a towel just to help with some of our poses and to soften anything underneath your knees, particularly if you're working on a hardwood or concrete floor. So let's get started for your first session. Coming into a cross-leg position, something that's comfortable for you, doesn't need to be super tight. Allow your knees to fall down towards the floor. We're going to start with some breathing exercises. In yoga we call it pranayama. I'm going to turn the palms to face up and let the elbows fall in down by the waist. Closing the eyes down if you feel comfortable with that, and then breathing in through the nose, nice and long, out through the nose. Feeling yourself a little centered, but a little lifted with the shoulders. Trying to catch that deep flow of breath. One more all the way in. And as you exhale, opening up the eyes and interlacing your fingers, moving the fingers back behind the head. Elbows pulling back behind the body, and try not to press the ribs and belly forward. Try and feel that you're sitting up nice and tall. Take a big breath in, and then on an exhale, we're going to bring the elbows closer together and take a look down towards your ankle. Keeping the chest up nice and tall. Maybe your elbows are touching in front of your nose. A full cycle of breath here. Then inhale, take the elbows nice and wide and look up. Try and keep the shoulders relaxed. You're lifting your chin so your throat is open, and elbows trying to pull back behind the body. As you take your cycle of breath here, feel the ribs expanding, trying to create some space in that front body. Taking a look forward, relaxing into the shoulders. One more round of each. Tuck the chin in nice and tightly to the throat. Elbows come close together. Feel that the spine is staying up nice and tall, and just that gentle pressure of the head and hands to open up the back of the throat. On an inhale, go nice and wide. We're looking up. Mouth staying closed. Lifting your chin to look all the way up, and try and pull the elbows back behind your body. Catching that cycle of breath and enjoying the lungs, taking some more breath all the way in. Coming back to center, relaxing into shoulders. We're going to release one hand off to the side and then open up, lift up and look up. So nothing too strong just yet. We're focusing here on keeping both knees down nice and low. Lengthening up and just turning your palm to sort of face the back. Lifting your eye gaze, lifting your chin to look past your fingers. One more breath here. Then on your exhale, drop across the body, smooth move all the way to the other side. Open up, lift up, lengthen up. Rotating the palm. Lifting your chin to look past your fingers. Keeping knees down nice and low. On your exhale, floating the hands back behind the body, one arm coming across, grabbing hold of the knee, swinging the hand around the arch of the back and pressing down nice and firmly if you're able to get to the thigh. On an inhale, sit tall, and on your exhale, look all the way over your shoulder. Again, we're trying to keep the knees nice and low, chest and heart nice and open, and then that good rotation of the spine as you're looking back over your shoulder. Breathing in and out through your nose, keeping the muscles well fueled with your breath. Relax the shoulders, come back to center, smooth move all the way across the other side. Reach across the body and around the back, looking over your shoulder. Knees staying nice and low, shoulders staying nice and back, and then heart lifting as you look all the way to the back wall. Feel yourself breathing here now. Coming back to your center, releasing, changing the cross of your legs. Whichever one was on top is now on the bottom. A little shuffle if you need to. Feeling yourself sitting on top of the sit bone, sitting up nice and tall. As you reach out, hands, wrists resting on the knees, then inhale to lengthen up, lift up, tips of your fingers come together, or full palm if you can. This is a little strength pose here. So we're going to drop into the shoulders, a little bend of the elbows if you need to. Try and keep the ribs and belly drawing in. We're going to look towards your right elbow. Keeping the chin tucking in nice and tight. Try not to send the belly forward. Sitting up nice and tall. Coming back to center and then all the way to the other side. Nice and long, slow breathing. Take a look forward, slide your hands back to your knees, interlace your fingers behind the back of the body. I'm going to release the pointer and the thumb, and then reaching for the floor. Try and lift the hands away from the body, rolling the shoulders back to send the heart forward, and then eye gaze down at your ankle. Nice slow breath in, keeping the chest up nice and tall, knees down nice and low. Breathing so that you can feel the lungs take a little extra space. On your inhale, looking forward, releasing your hands, bringing them to your knees, a little roll of the shoulders, then fingertips out in front. So I'm able to come a little deep here, so depending on what happens for you, with your objective being not to let your hips lift from the mat, you're reaching forward. So you might be just fingertips to the floor, you might be flat palms if anyone's able to go full deep, elbows bending in and then letting your forehead drop towards the floor. Mindful of your hips lifting off the mat and you're falling forward. So it's more important just to have that forward move. Tuck your chin in nice and tightly to your throat and then breathe into the shape of the spine. So nice lift up over the shoulder blades. Then take a look between your hands. Right hand is going to come towards your ear and then we're going to open that elbow up nice and high. Left fingertips or palm is flat to the floor. So I feel that there's a push away, a lift up and look up, and then you're looking towards your elbow. Pressing your head into your hands with a little energy. Trying to keep the hips nice and low. Take a nice smooth breath out. Try and bring your elbow, come to touch your opposite elbow. Eye gaze across towards your knee. Hold here as tightly as you can. Keep your hips pressing backwards, and then on a big inhale, draw that elbow all the way back up. Challenge the range a little to look all the way. Last round to come across the body. Let the elbow touch at the elbow, looking towards your knee. Take the breath, release your hand. We're changing sides. So palm comes out nice and strong, press away from the mat, elbow to lift, reach for the back wall, and then looking over your shoulder towards the elbow. Maybe just fingertips on the floor out in front, relaxing the shoulder. Coming all the way across your body, working to touch the elbow as you breathe out. Inhale to draw that elbow nice and high, press your head into your hands, challenge your range here a little. Exhale, come all the way back in, last one to touch, hold. Releasing your hands out in front, walking your hands back in towards the body, changing the cross of your legs. And then hands either side of your knee. I'm going to keep cupcake fingers, so just the fingertips on the floor, not a flat palm. Let the elbows fall in towards the body and then drag the torso down towards your thigh. You want to keep your opposite knee down nice and low and then letting the brow fall towards your knee. Holding here and breathing into that open side of the body. Sliding the hands back in closer to the body, sit up nice and tall, all the way to the other side. So don't let your hands reach out too far in front. They're sort of in line with the angle of the knee. Then draw the elbows in towards the body and then pull yourself down towards your thigh. Let your chin drop, let the back of the neck open. Keeping the opposite knee down as low as you can. Pulling the body all the way back up to sit tall. Feel your shoulders stacked on top of the sit bones. Interlace your fingers and palms pressing out in front. So relax into the shoulders, draw the belly back in so that you can feel that you're sitting on your sit bones. On your inhale, we're going to float the arms all the way up. Try and keep your shoulders down low. So mindful of this lifted position. Draw the belly back in, keep your knees down nice and low, eye gaze to follow your fingers. Throat all the way open if you can, and stay breathing in and out through your nose. Don't fall into that wanting to breathe through your mouth. Take a look forward, slide your hands back through to your heart center, release your hands into your lap. We're going to take a little rest here, letting the shoulders fall back and down. I've interlaced the fingers and then tips of the thumbs, nice and tightly pressing to each other. Try not to send the ribs and belly forward, sitting up nice and tall. Let your chin fall to your chest. Shoulders pulling back, lifting the eye gaze, releasing both legs off to one side. So I've just shuffled, so my hips are staying square to the front of my mat. One shin's coming across in front and maybe the foot is touching at your thigh or at the top of the knee, and then one foot back behind the body. Just lifting that foot, I'll show you that I've got the top of my foot to the floor rather than it being the side of my foot. A little balance, you might try and shuffle the hips just a little. Trying to sit back into some balance, reaching the hands out in front and then coming all the way forward. So for some of you might be on fingertips or palms. For some of you, if you can make it all the way down, think about dropping your chest towards your shin, brow to the floor, and with some balance, lowering all the way in. Feeling the hips moving backwards, letting your head fall towards the floor. And feel a few forces at work here. So from hips to underarms, you're reaching forward, and then from hips to feet, you're pressing back. Then looking forward between your hands, slide your hands all the way in to sit back up onto both hips, press backwards. Now you're turning towards the leg that is back behind the body. One hand comes to grab. Reaching one hand around the arch of your back, you might press to the thigh for some of you who can reach, and then really open up with the shoulders looking back. So don't let your hips lift from the mat. You want to stay down nice and low. I'm pressing my toenails to the floor and then trying to lead with my shoulder to release into that lower back, middle back. Taking a look forward, all the way across the body. So not releasing the arms just yet. I'm going to chuck the chin a little closer to your shoulder, keeping the spine up nice and tall, inviting the neck to catch a little release here. Try and make your eye gaze sort of straight out in front. And keeping your eye gaze where it is, release your hands and come all the way across the body. One hand grabs hold of your knee, again that hand can reach across the arch of the back, and then looking over your shoulder. I'm using the hand at the knee to help pull me around a little bit more, to again release more from the spine. The more you breathe in these rotation positions, the more you will release. If you're working so hard that it's taking your breath away, you're going to miss some of that release of tension. Take a look forward, release that bind. We're going to change legs by letting the hands come down in front, leaning forward to lift your hips, and then just a swivel of your feet to settle back into a change of legs. Taking a little shuffle as you need to. Feeling a little balanced in your hips, and we're coming forward. So reaching out in front, your choice of flat palms. If you're able to come all the way down, allow your brow to rest to the floor. Feel your hips moving backwards. Sliding your hands all the way in towards the body, feeling that shoulders pulling back to sit up nice and tall, and you're turning towards the leg that's behind you. Grabbing hold of the knee if you can, wrapping the hand around the arch of the back, thigh if you can reach, and then looking over your shoulder. Keeping knees nice and low, feel that good lift of the torso to look all the way over the shoulder. Settle into your breath there. Take a look forward, release. We're coming we're coming across the shoulder and then looking all the way over. Feeling that chin tucking a little closer to your shoulder, keeping the knees nice and low. Breathing controlled. On your next exhale, now we're going to release the arms, come across the body and wrap around the back, looking all the way over your shoulder, leading with your shoulder. Checking you don't want to have your eye gaze at the floor, keeping that chin nice and parallel to the mat. And on your exhale, we're looking forward and releasing. Hands are coming out in front, making your way into child's pose. So knees as wide as the mat, tips of the toes together, little shuffle of your hips, and then reaching out in front. Bending at the elbows so that you can rest your brow on your forearm. Little sway of your hips from side to side. Pressing your hips back to your heels to try and stay nice and low. Then releasing your hands, we're going to press into a down dog position from here. So palms are shoulder width apart. I'm going to lean forward, tuck your toes and lift your hips, pressing your chest to your thighs. I'm just going to move to the side so that you can see. Want to move the weight off your shoulders by pressing your hips backwards. Eye gaze can move between your knees, between your thigh or to your tummy. And your palms are pressing away from the floor. Trying to lower the heels down, but that's not super important. You might like to walk your heels out left and right, particularly if the hammies are a little bit sore. And then bend your knees. You're going to make your way into seated, whichever graceful way you can, bringing your feet to the top of your mat. So lengthening out in front, we're going to lift up with the knees so they're up a little closer to your chest, or on the side so that you can see. Rather than that straight position, we're going to draw the heels in just a little, slide your hands in underneath, and then extend the heels out a little bit more. Letting your brow fall in towards your knees, and then breathing across the back. For those of you who are able to lengthen out a little bit more, you could drop the heels further away and then lower the torso into the thigh. Release the hands out from underneath the knees. Press the shoulders back to sit nice and tall. You're back in an upright position. Bring your left leg in, tucking in nice and tight to your inner thigh. Square the body out over that thigh and then fold in forward. So not necessarily about coming super deep. Think about moving your hips backwards and keeping a straight leg out in front and being able to breathe as you come forward. If you are able to move a little deeper, then you're reaching down towards your ankle or your foot, but not letting your knee lift from the mat or your hips lift from the mat. Sliding your hands in, pulling the shoulders back, sitting up nice and tall. We're changing legs, extending out in front, sliding the heel in, letting your big toe press to the inner thigh, knees falling towards the floor and then folding in. Don't rush to super max where you're gonna tense up at the hammy. Just fall in, follow your breath, let that be your guide. If you're able to come a little deeper, make that deeper move on an exhale. Using your hands to press away from the floor, sitting up nice and tall, coming into our butterfly position. So soles of your feet together and your heels are in nice and tight towards the body. Now some fundamentals of yoga that translate into your workout world is your core and your pelvic floor. So important in this pose to really connect with those two as best you can. So if you know your pelvic floor, you want to try and pull that in and up nice and tightly. If you can feel your core, then you want to draw that in nice and tight by keeping the shoulders relaxed. Once you're able to keep those two connected, then you're trying to keep your knees nice and low as you're folding in towards your feet. So I've kept a straight spine here. I'm just hinging at my hips to come forward. Not working anything too deep, focusing on pelvic floor and core, knees low. Let the shoulders relax. We're going to hang here for a little to allow you to enjoy and celebrate in these hips a little more. Pulling the shoulders back, sitting up nice and tall. We're going to bring the knees in together. Holding here, hugging in nice and tightly. A little sway from side to side. Allow your brow to drop in towards your knees and hold everything in nice and tight. Then hopefully you have enough space behind you. If not, like me, you need to wiggle a little bit forward. You're going to roll the spine to the floor, keeping everything in nice and tight. Let's move to the side so that you can see. Tucking in nice and tight. You might just be holding onto your knees. If you can manage wrists or if you can manage elbows, you might do that. So I've got my toes together but feet pressing forward. Shins together, knees together, thighs together. I'm trying to bring as much of my back to the floor and then letting the weight of my arms pull the knees in a little bit tighter towards the body. Feeling and pressing the breath into the thigh. Going to exhale and let both knees come away from the body, both feet to the floor. Going to interlace the fingers behind the back of the leg and press one leg away from the body. So I've got that push away. Some of you might be a little bit lower to the hammy or at the back of the knee. Keep that leg super straight and strong. You're trying to keep your spine to the floor. And then pressing away to lengthen out, shoulders pulling out of their sockets. Feel that good press away. Then you're trying to let your thigh come a little closer to your chest, keeping a straight leg as best you can. Some of you might need to bend your knee particularly, but starting to get a little shaky now. If you're able to keep it straight, think about energy moving out through your heel. Draw the belly back in, we're bending at the knee, letting your foot come back to the mat, we're changing sides. Interlace your fingers, catch behind the back of the leg and then press away. Check back in with your spine, pressing to the floor, as much of your ribs, and a good press away, hamming into your hand. On your next breath out, we're going to change that and bring the thigh a little closer to your chest, toes a little closer to your brow. Remember, bend your knee if the legs are starting to shake. bend your knee to release, let your foot come back to the floor. Sliding the sides of your feet together, or soles of your feet together, knees nice and wide. Floating your hands up over the head, holding onto your elbows or your wrists. If holding onto your elbows or your wrist means that your shoulders are from the floor, you want to release that as wide as you need to so that you can rest into this position. Try and feel your feet in the middle of your body, so running all the way the length of the spine. Big toes pressing together. Try and keep the lower belly to the floor. Catch a few slow breaths here, concentrating on that breath coming in through the nose, heading right down to the belly. And then as you exhale from the nose, emptying the lungs completely. And lifting up with the knees, feet are nice and flat to the floor. Walk your heels in a little closer and then pressing your feet to the mat, float your hips from the mat for your bridge pose. Keeping the hips up nice and high. If you're able to lift, your chest is lifting up nice and high towards your chin. Toes pressing to the mat. Hold, contract the glutes a little if there's anything moving into the lower back. And rolling the spine to the mat, extending into straight legs, and then floating your hands down by your side. Shavasana is our last pose. It's the one where we ask nothing from your body but relaxation and listening for your breath. I like to roll the knuckles to the floor so the heart stays open and shoulders are open just a little bit more, and I like to be on the side of my calf so that my feet are falling out to the edge. I need enough room for my neck and shoulders. And then coming back into a nice, slow breath. Now you can stay in Shavasana for as long as you like, as long as you can. Trying to block any thoughts and just staying with the sound and rhythm of your breathing. When Shavasana is finished, your knees can come up, feet to the floor, and you want to roll onto your right hip and shoulder before making your way to seated. Feeling a little relaxed, dropping into the shoulders, bringing the palms together in the middle of the body, thumbs resting on your brow for a cycle of breath. Thumbs resting at your lips. And then finally to the middle of the body, a little bow of your brow. Namaste. So guys, I hope you enjoyed your first session. We've got plenty more to come for you to allow you to be back into your next workout feeling revived and ready to go.